Alrighty, test one of the shower. Ready? 3, 2, 1. What's going on? It's bloody me again for another video on how to make our shower area. I'll be showing you, basically we're going to be building our own shower pan out of fiberglass, which is going to be pretty scary, pretty cool. We're going to be waterproofing all of the walls, and we're going to be doing all the plumbing. I've actually already done the plumbing, but I'll explain it. And you must be wondering, where have you been all this time? I've just been building these lovely live edge countertops. Thought I wouldn't film it. Well, I didn't try not to film it, but I didn't film it. And I thought I'd just do some nice hard work for once in my life. But they're in and they look beautiful. So I'll just quickly explain all the plumbing that I've done. So we've got our mixer for our shower right here. And it's going into a hot and cold. The hot is coming through our hot water system. There's a cold that runs all the way and it tees off from the kitchen sink, and then it tees off again right here. That'll be for the toilet right here, and then it also just tees off here going into the hot water system. So that will be hot and cold mixer right there. And then that just goes up to where the shower head's gonna be. We just bought our shower head today, so we finally know what it's gonna look like, and then I can finally permanently attach where that's gonna go. Because I didn't know where it was gonna go because I didn't know what shower head we were getting. And the pipes that we used are called push fit fittings. And you basically just cut your pipe to the length you want, and you just push it up and it'll click in. And these are 16mm, so it's 16mm. Righty, onto the shower base. So this is the lovely shower base. It's made out of 12mm plywood, and then I've just nail gunned it, glued it all together. It's got a little down run just so that the water goes into where the drainage system's going, and then that is going to be where the toilet's going to sit. It's just going to slide in. We're going to fiberglass the whole thing, and then I'm going to silicone just around and then around onto the walls, and it will all be lovely and watertight. With all these little cracks, we're just going to fill them all in, make them all rounded, make them all nice, and then start fiberglassing. So I was just using a wide crack wood filler, which is sandable and paintable, and that is because you're going to have to be sanding it back. You need to get it as smooth as you possibly can. So that is all the filling lovely and done. We'll just wait for it to dry. It's a rapid filler, so it'll just be 15 minutes to dry, and then we'll just sand it all back. And this is where the shaping started. So I tried with an angle grinder and it was a bit too aggressive, so I thought, I know, I'm going to use a round over on the router just to get that lovely round top. And the reason being is because when you use your fiberglass, it can't bend at a 90-degree angle. It has to be rounded. Otherwise it's just going to ping back up. It's not going to sit well, or you're going to get air bubbles. So a nice round over is what you need. And then I grabbed this fiberglassing kit which I got from the hardware store. Mixed it all up to the ratios provided on the tin, and then laid down an undercoat on the shower base for the fiberglass to stick to. And this basically just fills in all the little cracks that the wood might have, any imperfections, and it just gives that safe layer underneath everything. When you're working with fiberglass you're using epoxy resin, so you definitely need to be using a mask because the fumes are deadly, I think. They're not good. And you obviously want to be wearing gloves because they're fiberglass, microfiber pieces of glass. And they do go everywhere, so you're going to be itching for a few days. There's a lot of videos online on how to fiberglass, so I'm not going to go into how to do it, because this actually was my first time. So that is all the fiberglassing done. We're just going to wait for it to dry, and then we're going to sand it, then we're going to paint it. Woohoo! So believe it or not, in this day and age, time is not always your best friend. So instead of waiting around for epoxy to dry, I jumped right on putting the walls up. And I'm using 9mm ply for these walls, because obviously they're lighter than a 12mm sheet, but they've still got a lot of strength in them. And I built the 2x4s just enough width apart so that it's strong but also lightweight. And I'm just using 32mm brad nails to put them in with screws in the corners, just so that the wall's never going to fall off. And it is very important to remember, if you've got cables or water pipes or any gas pipes or anything, remember that they're behind the walls, because you don't want to be blasting a brad nail straight through one of them that could cause very big problems. And then once the base was dry, we moved on to sanding, and I used a 120 grit sanding sheet on the orbital sander because I didn't want it too smooth. I still wanted it to be slightly rough just for the painting process, just so that the paint can still stick to it. Obviously if you sanded it too much, you'd give it kind of a shiny finish, which you don't really want. You want it to be a little bit gritty so that the paint has something to bite onto. And with paint, we found this bath paint. So theory was this to paint baths, and it was a 2-part 1-to-1 ratio, and we pretty much just covered the base in this lovely white paint. Now, just to let you guys know, this is the last video of this series. So if you're interested in how we made anything else that you can see in this video, then there is a playlist on the channel. So go find it if you're more than interested in how we built any of the other stuff. And give a subscribe or a like if you fancy. You don't have to. Peer pressure is a dangerous thing these days. But just do it. Now with this shower base, I taped up the plug at the bottom, and that was because when I was painting, I wanted to give it a little bit of a thick layer so it ran into the little groove that I created for the plug. And I wanted the paint to pretty much level off where it hit the plug so that all the water can just drain straight out. Now this is what I'm normally terrible at, but this video has proven that maybe I'm getting better at it. And that would be juggling a couple of jobs at once. For instance, now we're building the shower recess area which holds your shampoo and conditioner and body wash and stuffs. And this once again is just plywood. This one's 12mm because it's not that big. And it'd be holding stuff, so I can loosen up a bit and go with a 12mm for this one. And then after that is attached, I can then finish the last couple of walls. And if you're building walls in a van, or if you've done it before, you might know that it is very, very complicated because there's so many curves in the van, and depending on how skilled you are, you might be a mil out, which does your freaking head in. But luckily I'm very talented and I never see a mill out. No, never have, never will. A jigsaw is the perfect tool for cutting out these walls because you can get right in on all the curves. And I should have bought a hole saw set, but instead, why not just trace around with a bit of tape and just cut it out with a jigsaw. It'll still do the job, and this hole is going to be hidden once it's waterproofed and siliconed, and then the shower head will go on top. And here's a little tip: cut a hole, grab a pencil, trace the inside. And this once again was 9mm ply sheet, using screws just in the corners and then brad nailing the rest. And the reason is that I don't want to cause too many big holes with screws, so I'll just screw the corners in, and then the brad nails, they're so tiny that they're barely breaking the plywood, which is the best option for when you're waterproofing. This is the perfect example of the hard shapes on the walls that you'll have to be cutting out, so be very patient. Now I managed to get a little bit of know-how from a guy who has built a shower or two, and he gave me the perfect rundown for everything to do, because obviously it feels like a scary job when you're trying to waterproof wood. So basically, to start off, we need a wall primer, and this is basically so that the waterproofing membrane can stick to the wall beautifully. Then we moved on to waterproofing tape, and this tape is for the corners, all the joins, any screw holes, pretty much anywhere where you think water could run into. And lastly, obviously, the big guy, the waterproofing membrane. And make sure when you're getting a waterproof membrane that it is a rubbery type membrane, because you can get quick drying membranes and they tend to crack. So if you've got a very slow drying membrane and it's got rubbery elements in it, then that is definitely the one that you want to get. So that is pretty much all the waterproofing done. We just need to sort out where the toilet's going, build another wall, waterproof that, and then we are ready to go. Next stage is to put the shower base in. Let's go. So let's put it all together, eh? Now I struggled finding a place for the drain to go because I was juggling in between the drive shaft, the exhaust, and the fuel tank. But with a lot of measuring, I successfully dodged them all. And once that was in, I could then finally drop my shower base into the shower area. And I did end up scuffing the walls on the waterproofing, which I had to go back and obviously mend with some more waterproofing, but I made the shower base a bit too tight and should have cut it down a little bit more. Then we installed this little guy, you know, the one that when the public toilets shut at 8 or the pub shuts at 11 and there aren't any bushes. This is the guy. Say hello, mate. Hello. And once that was in, we were very stuck on what our finish would be for the shower. And we know a lot of people do the shiny plasticky walls, but we feel they're a bit too clinical, or I don't know. We wanted to do something cool, and what better way than to push the boundaries even more by waterproofing wooden squares. Now I've got a whole video dedicated to this process, which is on the channel if you want to go check it out. And it basically just explains exactly how we made these tiles, how we waterproofed them, how we put them up, how we siliconed into the corners. Actually, I didn't explain that on that video. That's in this one. I'll show you how I siliconed in all the cracks, if you stay tuned. But this process took a very long time. But if I could go back in time and look myself in the eyes and say, this is a pretty bloody big job, mate, I'd probably still do it. It looks pretty freaking epic. And also, I've never seen it done before in the history of mankind. Oh, someone's probably done it, but I've never seen it. And once they were all made, we just used T-Rex to put up the tiles, which is the world's strongest silicon. So that is the tiling done on one of the walls. Just another 3 to finish off, and then we are done. So let's do it. So that is all the tiling done. Check it out. Ooh. Now all I've got to do is silicone in between the cracks. And here is the finishing touch for the shower. Siliconing in between all the tiles, which I thought would have taken a few hours. But it only went and took 3 days. It was a lot of siliconing and a lot of sweat. But trust me, it looks ripper. Check it out. Alrighty, test 1 of the shower. Ready? 3, 2, 1. She works. And that is looking pretty bloody waterproof to me. Woohoo! So thanks for watching the video, guys. If you like this video, give it one of those. This van is finished now, so we're going to be making a whole walkthrough video of that. That's going to be coming up, so give it a subscribe if you like. And there's also going to be a couple more videos of this van, so stay tuned. Anyway, I'll see you in the future. Don't know when, don't know where. Goodbye.